I'm gonna go live.
Make the owl stare at you.
We'll fix it over to you once you start talking. That's why I'm sitting over here.
It's not displaying the list of attendees yet, is it? Okay, it's 1:30, so the Mendocino County Zoning Administrator meetings will be conducted virtually and not available for in-person public participation pursuant to the provisions of Government Code Section 54953 and the recommendations of the Mendocino County Health Officer. Meetings are live streamed and available for viewing on the Mendocino County YouTube page. This is the October 13th, 2022 Zoning Administrator meeting. And as I mentioned, it's 1:30 p.m. So I will call the meeting to order at exactly 1:30 p.m. So may I please get a determination of noticing?
The item on the agenda.
So that moves us to item 3A, which is case number V 2022-003. This is a variance. Owner applicant is Michael Logue and Severa Keith. Agent is Michael Logue. The request again is a variance to reduce the 20-foot front yard setback to accommodate a location for a single-family residence due to topographic and geologic constraints. The project has been determined to be categorically exempt from CEQA. The project is located 1.5 plus minus miles northeast of Philo, approximately 500 feet north of the terminus of Clearwater Ranch Road, 1 plus minus mile north of the intersection of Whipple Ridge Road and Philo School Road, located at 17,560 Indian Creek Drive in the community of Philo. Assessor's parcel number 046-520-05. May I please get a staff report?
Yes, thank you. This is Liam Crowley, the staff planner for this project. As stated, the applicant requests a variance to reduce the front yard setback. Staff determined that the project is categorically exempt from further environmental review under CEQA. Staff found that the project was consistent with the standards outlined in County Code Section 20.200.020 to support granting of the variance. Evidence in support of the variance included a map provided by the geotechnical engineer showing the existing structure in an area with higher risk of potential landslide. And the only area on the site map shown with a lower risk of landslide is within the setback. Further explanation of this is included within the published staff report. Staff conducted a site visit of the property on June 10th, 2022, which confirmed the site conditions as described in the staff report. On July 20th, 2022, the project was referred to various relevant agencies for comments. Any critical comments are discussed in full in the staff report. I did want to bring up one thing. CAL FIRE did respond on July 31st, noting that the property is within the state responsibility area and a very high fire hazard severity zone. CAL FIRE stated that they do not support the current location of the residence because it doesn't meet the 30-foot defensible space setback requirement, and there are no identified requirements to meet the same practical effect. Now, after corresponding with CAL FIRE staff and the applicant, CAL FIRE provided further clarification on August 19th, and they continue to recommend that the structure not be placed in the proposed area for 3 primary reasons. First, that it doesn't satisfy the 30-foot defensible space. Second, that it's unclear whether the easement to the east of the property could be used as defensible space. And third, that there are no mitigations identified that would provide the same practical effect for fire safety. Staff contacted CAL FIRE on September 12, 2022 to determine what specific mitigations or exceptions may be available to the applicant in order to conform to the fire safe standards. and as yet, CAL FIRE has not responded. Despite this, staff finds that the comments from CAL FIRE are not critical to the granting of the variance because the applicant would have the opportunity to modify their plans or identify any mitigations necessary in order to comply with CAL FIRE standards at the time a building permit application was submitted. And this is explained in further detail within the staff report. So to close, staff recommends approval of the variance based on the facts and findings and subject to the conditions of approval. And that's all that I have. I'm available for any questions.
Okay, thank you. And I guess for clarification, this is just the variance entitlement, but the applicant would still have to come in for a building permit, which would still be subject to the 4290 standards that would be reviewed by CAL FIRE.
That's correct.
And at that point, they could either approve or deny for the defensible space. But again, we're just entertaining the variance at this point, and this should be clear that this does not, constitute an approval of the building permit, it's just the location.
Correct.
All right,
Yes.
thank you. So with that, is the applicant online and wish to speak on this matter?
Yes.
I see Michael Logue.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. They got you. They got you.
Yes, go ahead.
So, yes, I was able to walk the site with Liam earlier on in the application process.
Identify yourself for the record.
Am I unmuted?
Oh, you have to say your name.
Uh,
This is my
This is Michael Logue. So I was able to meet with planner Liam Crowley earlier on in the application process, and we were able to walk through the project. The project is unique in the sense that the site's topographic and geologic constraints kind of force the new residence to be built in a very specific location. So the proposed location basically accommodates what that proposed location would be. Again, it's a fairly steep site, so the buildable area is constrained to a specific location, as well as the actual geologic survey done by Chandler Cohen, our geotechnical engineer on the project, which recommended building the house in a specific location as well, which is basically closer to the property line on the proposed project. So that's what we actually had proposed as far as what we had turned in. And I believe Liam's comments and feedbacks were based on that actual proposed layout.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Crowley did mention that CAL FIRE recommended against this location, and the issue hasn't been worked out yet as to this particular location, and they've further submitted comments. But again, I just want to make you aware that we're looking at the variance today, which is the deviation from the setback. CAL FIRE has some concerns with regards to its location. Even if this variance is approved today, you still have to go through the what I call the 4290 regulations and apply for a building permit through CAL FIRE, and they can still require you to move the structure. So that process still has to be worked out. But I'm just mentioning that as information. I'm only entertaining the variance today.
Thank you.
All right, so anybody else wish to speak on this matter from the applicant side?
We have no one else in attendance.
All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak on this matter?
We have no one present.
All right, so I'll go ahead and return it back to the zoning administrator. can you reiterate the Caltrans, the last conversation with CAL FIRE?
Sure, yeah. Essentially, originally CAL FIRE had explained that the proposed location of the structure doesn't meet the 30-foot defensible space setback requirement. After talking with the applicant and CAL FIRE, we pondered the idea there's a 40-foot easement to the east of the property that's used as a parking area, about using that for defensible space. I am unclear on the legality of being able to remove vegetation in that easement area. But if that were possible, then that could certainly be an option. CAL FIRE also mentioned that it's doesn't usually make provisions to allow for defensible space or vegetation removal within easements, but there are certain options available if the property were to be put closer to the property line that could possibly meet CAL FIRE's standards. For example, if a 1-hour firewall was constructed on the side of the building that was in the portion that was not meeting the setback requirement, if the building met the Chapter 7A requirements for wildfire. Also, there could be requirements that no windows or openings be allowed on the side of the property if it were placed in that location.
So there are possibilities.
There are
where
possibilities, and in addition to that, CAL FIRE does allow for an applicant to basically appeal CAL FIRE's decision to the local jurisdiction, at which point the local jurisdiction would have to provide mitigation measures and identify specifically what would be needed.
Okay, well, as mentioned before, I mean, this only accommodates the variance to the setback,
Right.
but not the structure itself. So at the point where the building permit is submitted, that application has to be pre-reviewed by CAL FIRE for them to accept the location and any mitigation measures to address that, which could be the 1-hour firewall, the no windows.
Right.
So there's obviously some latitude for CAL FIRE to do this and provide for the setbacks. So again, I just pointed that out to the applicant that there's CAL FIRE still has that final review.
Correct.
All right, so I've examined the evidence, the findings, and the conditions of approval, and based on that, I'm going to go ahead and approve the project subject to the conditions and findings contained in the staff report. And again, that'll be up to the applicant to work with CAL FIRE on the building permit process to be able to stay within the setback and address the, accommodate for the geologic and geographical issues. But they may have to modify their building or design their building to meet the 4290 standards. So with that, the project is approved. All right, matters from staff. Do we have any matters from staff? None. Any matters from the public? This is the opportunity for anybody from the public that wishes to address the zone administrator on any items that are not on the agenda.
There's no one present.
No one present. All right, so I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 1:43 p.m. Thank you.